at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One of the canards being distributed by the neo-Marxists since the outset of this military campaign in Iran has to do with America's Strategic Petroleum Reserve, where it sits and why it sits there in case it needs to be accessed at the global level. There is a discussion about a significant release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve globally to make up for any potential shortfall in production coming out of the Gulf. Here was what Interior Secretary Doug Burgum had to say about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in America over the weekend.
Back in 2020, President Trump wanted to get the thing filled up to the max, and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats voted against it and called it and President Trump, he's a buy low, sell high guy. He was going to fill it up at $20 a barrel, which would have been a gift to the Americans. Instead, Biden drained it about in half, 400 million barrels ahead of the midterms in 2022 to try to get the price down at the pump. I mean, Biden turned it into his own personal petroleum reserve for political purposes. But right now, I know that internationally, there's lots of reserves. There is a lot of supply of oil around the world, a lot of it floating. Here in the U.S., I mean, President Trump's energy dominance policy for Americans should know that we are completely well supplied in America. We are absolutely not dependent on oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East. We've never been more energy independent and energy secure than right now. There's energy security for Americans. And as President Trump says, this price increase is going to be temporary, and it is a small price to pay for the idea that we're going to get rid of the terrorist regime that has been holding the world economy hostage for 47 years with the threat of closing the strait, taking away their ability to do that, taking away their ability to fund 24 terror groups and kill Americans. That's going to be lower prices and world peace and economic stability for decades to come.
And he's certainly right about that, about America's energy independence, which was achieved in President Trump's first term. And we're back at it. America produced more oil and gas, is producing more oil and gas than ever before. In fact, since 2022, we've produced more than any other nation, including Saudi Arabia. So, but I mean, that doesn't dispel the concern about a global shock to oil supply. But in terms of America's particular positioning, I think Doug Burgum is right, and there shouldn't be panic, although I know that's what the left is attempting to induce. For more on the economics of energy and other matters, Stephen Moore, noted economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dan. By the way, that was the great little excerpt you played from Doug Burgum. He's exactly right. I mean, I've never been a big fan of having a strategic petroleum reserve. I mean, I'm not so sure we need one, but if we do need one, and if we have one, it should be used for things like when we had Katrina, the hurricane that destroyed a lot of our Gulf of America, capabilities.
Capacity,
and so and then, similarly, when you have other kinds of hurricanes or natural disasters or terrorist attacks, I think we used it after 9/11. It makes sense. And so what's amazing about this story is that Joe Biden, and Burgum summarizes this very well, we drained the strategic petroleum reserve under Joe Biden's presidency, but there were no emergencies. The only emergency was that he drained our whole energy supply because of his idiot, net zero green energy crap. Remember the first thing he did when he was president was cancel the pipelines. And so my point. Well,
the emergency was his reelection. That was the emergency.
Exactly. That was the emergency. He had to bring gas prices down because his policies led to, the biggest increase ever. My point is, and I'd like your thoughts about this because, even my own team, we have disagreements about this. It seems to me this would be a good time to draw down some of the oil in the reserve because what's going on in the Middle East, which is going to be temporary. We will get the Straits of Hormuz back open. But for now, why not, as Doug Burgum said, it would be good for the country, but also we'd make money on it because we'd be selling the oil at a high price and we could refill it with low prices. But anyway, what do you think about that? I think it would be a smart thing.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the IEA, the International Energy Agency, and the possibility that they would release a significant number of the 1.2 billion barrels of oil they have in reserve that may.
By the way, where is that even stored? I didn't even know the IEA had a big reserve until I read that story. So I wonder where that oil is. But.
Well, I don't, I don't have particular coordinates, but this is what they allege to have, and so if they move in that direction, that may not. That may
help a little bit.
They may not. We may not need to, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I ask is I wonder who even has control over the IEA. Is that the European Union? I don't even know who has control of that oil. But my point is that one of the lessons we've learned from the last few weeks is we need to produce as much oil here as possible and gas, and because the more we do that, the less we're dependent. As long as, Dan, you and I have been alive, I mean, I'm a little older than you, but I remember in the late 70s, when I was a teenager, my parents would load us up at 6:30 in the morning and into our station wagon. I know a lot of your young listeners don't even know what a station wagon is. And we would go to the gas pump and we'd be 14th in line, thanks to Jimmy Carter, the energy crisis that he created. And so we should be producing as much oil as we can, and that is the best solution to any kind of. And by the way, we are today, folks, the biggest single country producer. We now produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia does. But the problem is every time we have these flare-ups in the Middle East, every single time, what happens? It throws a big dent in the American economy like we're seeing right now. So the best solution is to become energy independent as quickly as we can.
Right. For those scoring at home, the IEA, yes, includes the United States, by the way, as well as Mexico, a bunch of European countries, Japan, Korea. So the West and Western allies, basically. Right. But the other point too is, are we jumping the gun a little bit? Let's just see. We're 10 days in. Let's see what oil production coming out of OPEC countries actually looks like, and how quickly the Strait of Hormuz can be secured so that shipping can occur without incident and so forth. This may all be, I mean, it's fine to start having conversations and start thinking about contingencies, but it may be a little bit quick on the trigger to make a decision like that.
Well, so there's another element to this story, Dan, that's really and I just learned about this a few days ago because I've been saying, why don't we draw down oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? And it turns out, and I don't exactly understand why this is the case, but the fact is that Biden took so much oil out of the reserve, for his reelection purposes. You're right, that was the crisis. He had to get reelected. That now the whole thing is in such disrepair. They're saying they can't take any more oil out of it because it would cause the whole storage facility to be ruined.
You know what we need to do on this, Steve? We need to bring Billy Bob Thornton in. We need Landman to come in and figure the Strategic Petroleum Reserve issue out.
Exactly. So we don't really. What that means is we don't really have a Strategic Petroleum Reserve because it's been so drained by Joe Biden. So you can't make this stuff up, folks.
Okay. The jobs report in February, much discussed, was not particularly well received. There was some pretty good spin efforted by people like Peter Navarro to talk about the government employment is shrinking. That's a good thing. Domestic, American-born job creation is up, and foreign-born job holders down. Yeah. So that transfer is a good thing. But, if you're not growing, you're not growing.
Yeah, it was a bad report. It's hard to put any kind of lipstick on that pig report. It was a loss of jobs, and I guess the question is, what is going on here? Because we've seen a big slowdown in job creation for the last couple of years now, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, clearly, some of it is due to the fact that we've deported a lot of criminal aliens and a lot of self-deportations. And by the way, this is why it makes no sense to be going into Home Depots and taking people off, raiding these factories and these agriculture fields. I mean, if somebody's in the country here working, I don't think most Americans think it's very wise, and they're not a criminal. Why would you forcibly take them out? Well, I mean, they're not doing any harm to the country. Let's just put it like that. And so and by the way, that policy has been a real disaster for the Republicans. Everybody's in favor of getting rid of criminal aliens, but people who come in the country and work, they're assets to our country, not liabilities. But my point is, do you also have a situation right now where we have about 11,000 Americans retiring every year? I just turned 66, by the way. I guess I can retire now. And I'm a boomer. I don't know if you're probably too young to be a boomer.
I'm way too young. Not even close. Nice try. I'm Gen X. I'm fully ensconced in Gen X.
That explains everything, by the way.
It really does.
And I'm a boomer. And my point is, we have 11,000 people every single day in America retiring and going to Florida, Palm Beach, and we have 8,000 people entering the workforce because it's just demographics. So that's another reason we need more immigrant workers, because do the math. We're losing 3,000 net workers every single day, and so there's
I just have to intercede there because I'm sure some of my listeners are going to want me to. So, but just let me to you to address this, and we've talked about this before, so I know where you're coming from, but I mean, the way to do that is to have a sensible immigration system that contemplates guest worker programs that disincentivizes welfare. And so I just want to include that in
agree. I completely agree with that.
Yes.
And you and I are on the same page on that. My only point is that I think that we are having an issue with respect to an available supply of workers. And the other problem, Dan, is something you and I have talked about for years on this show. We're graduating kids from college that are not ready to work. They don't have any useful skills. I mean, sorry, if you have a philosophy degree or an ethnic studies degree, the employers aren't going to be pounding on your door asking you to come and work for them on a computer program. So this is the problem. We have a mismatch between what colleges are teaching our kids and training them for, and then you wonder why not just pay $200,000 and train young people to do things that are useful? They'd probably be much better off in their life. And look, I'm not against a liberal arts education. I got one myself, but come on. I mean, we got to make sure that the kids are graduating. The first thing they ask when they start their job is, well, where's the transgender bathroom? That doesn't go over too well.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Where's my breakfast nook and my sleeping pod? And yeah, right. Exactly. All that. I mean, it's interesting because, there's all these things that are seemingly at odds with one another. For example, earlier this week in your very good Unleash Prosperity newsletter, we got the data is, I know the New York Times reports the rich are getting richer at the expense of everybody else because, economics is a zero-sum game, but that's wrong. And you properly provided the context that shows, everybody is getting richer. When you look at gains of wealth gains in real dollars over the last 50 years, but the problem is that half to two-thirds of people. Well, it's not fair. One, that whole issue, the class envy issue or the income envy issue, but the other issue is that half to two-thirds don't feel like they're getting richer.
Well, so this was an amazing story that was a news story, and I think it came from the Wall Street Journal saying, look at the rich are getting richer at the expense of everybody else. And you look at the chart, and it shows, how much wealth has gone up by various income groups, and it shows for the, richest 1%, it's gone up like 800%. But what's so interesting is that every group had a big increase in their wealth, even people in the bottom 50%. had a 400% increase. Now, this is not adjusted for inflation, but even with you adjust, it's still a huge gain in wealth. And they're saying, instead of saying, look at how wonderful this is, everybody in America is better off, they're saying, oh, but these people are getting off faster than these people are. So we've lived through an amazing period of wealth creation. One of the real tragedies of that story, by the way, is if we had just let every young person or working middle-class person in America, and even low-income, minimum wage workers, put 10-12% of their paycheck into an index fund rather than the black hole of Social Security, they'd have like 3 times more wealth today.
Mm-hmm.
But the left said, oh, no, that's too risky. No, it's too risky to let young people put their money in the stock market. And so therefore, that single decision by Democrats probably did more to reduce the wealth of the middle class and low income people than any decision ever.
Well, has your optimism about this calendar year and it being a one of explosive growth been dimmed at all by recent events?
Yeah, it has. I mean, look, when you get these disruptions like we've seen with the Iran situation, and I know everybody has very different opinions on that, and I'm not an expert on foreign policy, but yeah, that certainly has been a disruption, and it's caused higher oil prices, obviously, and then when oil prices go up, inflation goes up, so that makes it more complicated. But before we break off, Dan, may I just change the subject for 1 minute and
Please,
say
go ahead.
that you buried the lead here, Dan. You've broken the first law of journalism.
Oh my goodness! I'm not a journalist. God, how dare you call me a journalist?
The most important story of the week, which you read in the hotline, is that this is the 250th anniversary week for the most important book ever written, maybe other than the Bible.
Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations.
Yeah, Wealth of Nations. And I'm just going to end by saying it is the most amazing coincidence of history that the 2 greatest documents promoting freedom in the history of the world, arguably, which, of course, would be the Declaration of Independence and Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, were written 6 months apart.
That is very good. Wow, gosh. Now the other most important book. I don't know how this.
Speechless there, didn't I?
Well, I'm just trying to think. You said the most important book of the last 250 years. And I just want to know where Michelle Obama's Becoming fits there, because I thought that was no, it's the Wealth of Nations.
That was a pretty important one. I agree. I stand corrected.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
And he joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Phil Energy USA is seeking an HR specialist in Kokomo, Indiana to conduct hiring, screening, interviews, onboarding, handle HR operations including complaints, evaluations, advise management on employment regulations, implement HR strategies, maintain HR records using management software. Must have U.S. bachelor's degree in HR, business, social science, or a related field.